Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Look at us. Look at what they make you give.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show. Yes, I still do have a cold. Hopefully it's the last week I've got it. I'm Stuart and along with me is Andy.
Good evening.
This week we have two films to review. They are...
we have the latest entry into the Bourne universe with Bourne Legacy and the latest Disney Pixar collaboration, Brave.
Yeah, on top of that we have the usual movie news, but let's kick things off as usual with the box office top 10. At number 10, Searching for Sugar Man.
Yeah, really nice to see this in the top 10. We haven't seen it. I think it's not had a massive release, which is why it's nice to see it in the top 10. Documentary about a group of people searching for Sugar Man, a singer who was largely famous in, I think it was Cape Town and sort of South Africa. And finding out what happened to him, and as he seemed to release an album years ago, disappeared and no one knew what happened to him after that.
Yeah, at number 9, a surprise re-entry for Mirror Mirror.
Yeah, the Tarsum Singh's version of Snow White. Different opinions exist as to this film. It's not brilliant, but I think it's the better of the two that were released, the other one being Snow White and the Huntsman.
Yeah, I thought it was garbage. It was actually pushed into 187 screens, which is really surprising.
I've seen it. I think my local cinema actually was showing it, and not just on a Saturday morning sort of thing. I think it's been on every day for a couple of showings in the mornings, with it being the holidays.
Yeah, at number 8, Magic Mike.
Which is a step back in the reins of Steven Soderbergh, holding himself back from just casting every available big actor that he can get, and instead focusing on a decent cast and really good performances from actors who, up until now, weren't especially brilliant in films. Great performance from Channing Tatum and a surprisingly decent performance from Alex Pettyfer.
Yeah, at number 7, Amazing Spider-Man.
Which I've seen now 3 times. I absolutely love it. I have it pre-ordered. I'm looking forward to getting it again to see it at home. My personal favourite of all the Spider-Man films, better than Sam Raimi's, a better adaptation of the comics and a much more faithful adaptation of the character.
Yeah, if I had my way, I would call it the average Spider-Man rather than the Amazing Spider-Man. I just thought it was quite average. At number 6, a new entry for Brave.
Yeah, which we'll be reviewing in just a moment, which is the Disney Pixar animation. It's in the top 10 because it was released in Scotland and Ireland last week, and it's now being released this weekend gone in the UK, the rest of the UK, so that's why we're only reviewing it this week.
Actually, it was released today. Not weekend gone, it was released the same day as Born.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm in Scotland, so as far as I know, it was released last week.
Yeah. At number 5, Dr. Seuss's The Lorax.
Yeah, which is a really fun animation from the makers of Despicable Me, but suffers from the same problems of Despicable Me in that the background characters are the best and funniest thing about it. The Lorax character is only in it for about 15 minutes, if that. And it's another one of these environmental story and everything for kids and everything, but it's fun, but it could have been better.
Yeah, it lacks on storyline. It plods along for the 90 minutes that it's in there, and like you said, it's the little creatures that seem to add the laugh.
A lot of humour, yeah.
Yeah, the humour, and that's a problem with American films these days. It seems to be that also Pixar seems to be falling into that thing where they seem to concentrate more on the background characters rather than the forefront characters, the main characters.
Yeah, we'll cover that a bit when it comes to Brave.
Yeah, at number 4, Ice Age 4 Continental Drift.
I haven't seen this, but from what I hear, it's again sort of more the same, but scratch the best thing.
Yeah, Scrat's the best thing. With Dr. Seuss's Delorex, it's ironic that both of them are next to each other because both of them suffer from the same problem in that their storylines are the weakest thing of the film, and there isn't any background characters in this movie. It just uses one in Scrat, which is the comedy element of the movie. It's just some of the jokes become more tiresome now. The fact that they seem to recycling the same thing over and over again. At number 3, new entry for the Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Dog Days.
Yeah, the third in the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series. I don't really know anything about it. I haven't seen any of them yet, but you've seen the other ones, so...
No, I've only seen one. I've seen the second one because I was forced with a gun against my head to watch the second one. Yeah, this one just seems... I sound like a broken record at the moment, but this one just employs the same method that the other two have. It takes a simple story that the summer months are happening, school's gone, and they can't decide what to do over the summer months. It doesn't sound like an enthralling film at all.
If we're going to talk about things not enjoying seeing, just wait till I have to see Keith Lemon in a couple of weeks. Oh my god.
Yeah, you should actually see what else is out that week, so you shouldn't be down the fact that you have to see Keith Lemon, because then I have to see The Three Stooges, because that's out the same week. Yeah, I know. And also The Watch is out that week as well. At number 2, Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, I mean, what more can we say about The Dark Knight Rises that we haven't already? It's taken 40 million at the UK box office alone, which isn't actually, thinking back, considering I can't remember what the Avengers took, but I'm sure the Avengers has beaten that in the UK box office. Which, I mean, it's doing well, but I think it should be doing better, to be honest.
Yeah. Last week I said there was no chance it's not gonna be at number 1. You said yes, it will, and I was right, because number 1 is a new entry for Ted.
Yeah. Although, did I say that during the show or before the show?
No, you said it. I said in the top 10 that any bets next week that The Dark Knight Rises will not be number 1 because of Ted, and you said no, you think it would be, and I was right.
Yeah. I've been proved wrong. I think I've been proved wrong. The thing for me is that I was thinking, because it's a 15, that it wouldn't do the business that a 12A would do during the holidays, which I'm surprised to see that Ted has taken now almost 10 million in its opening week. And it's deservedly so, because it is a brilliant comedy. It's one of the best comedies of recent years. It's funny, it's rude, it's crude, but it's so lovable.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I've been seeing that other people have been saying on Twitter that it's not as funny as they were hoping it to be. I don't get where they're coming from with that, because I laughed more than the 6 times in the first 15 minutes, and if I laugh more than 6 times in an entirety of a comedy, then it's a big hit. But laughing more than 6 times in 15 minutes, I think it's probably down to the fact that the people who didn't like it do not get Seth MacFarlane's humour.
Yeah,
they might not be a fan of Family Guy. If you're a fan of Family Guy and you get his humour, not just Family Guy, American Dad as well, and the Cleveland Show, if you know his humour, then you will get it more so than other people will.
Absolutely. It's exactly that kind of humour, and it's very much like a Family Guy film, but just not with Family Guy characters.
Yeah, exactly. Right, let's get on to some movie news.
Okay, Warner Brothers has changed the release date of director Baz Luhrmann's remake of The Great Gatsby. The movie, which features an all-star cast including Leonardo DiCaprio, Tobey Maguire and Carey Mulligan, was due for a Christmas release but will now be released in summer next year. This year's seen other movies like Paramount's G.I. Joe sequel Retaliation moved for reshoots, but there's no suggestion that this is what's happened with The Great Gatsby. I'm thinking, the only thing I can think of this is that The Great Gatsby is a Warner Brothers movie. Now, Warner Brothers is the same company that they took over New Line, and so they're in charge of things like The Hobbit, which is being released at Christmas. So the only reasoning that I can think of is that they don't want to have 2 big films released at Christmas, because they know that The Hobbit is going to clobber anything that it goes up against.
The 2 reasons what I saw, firstly, it was down to the fact that Baz Luhrmann wanted more time on the 3D and touch up the 3D and make the 3D as best as it could be. And the second reason was down to the fact that Warner Brothers didn't think that The Great Gatsby was strong enough to sort of like go up for award contention, because some early footage had been seen by people, and they just thought, actually, no, it's quite weak, because they were hoping that this would be a movie that would help them to get some Oscars. But now they're seeing the fact, like you said, with The Hobbit being released at Christmas, it might get more of a take and render at the summertime. But unfortunately, it's going to push it in the headlights of summer blockbusters, because Marvel has a film out right about that time. So it's going to push it in the headlights of those kind of films, and it's not going to help it either way.
Yeah, it's definitely going to have a tough time when it gets out. And the thing is with 3D, I mean, does it need what's that, 4 months to get to work on the 3D? Supposedly the 3D, if it's, I don't know if it's filmed. That's actually a question.
Yeah,
I need to
it's
look
getting
at.
shot in
if
3D.
It's been filmed. It is being okay.
Yeah, it is.
That should make it even better, even easier to work on the 3D. It doesn't need to be converted. It's already done.
Yeah, but that was one of the reasons that I saw that Baz Luhrmann wants to work more on the 3D and have time to do touch-ups if he needs to.
Okay. Moving on, Disney CEO Bob Iger has confirmed that Joss Whedon will be returning to write and direct the sequel to The Avengers. At the same time, Iger also announced that Whedon is developing a live-action TV series involving Marvel characters for the US ABC network, which is part owned by Disney. It's not yet known which characters will appear in the series, or if it will even be set in the same universe as the Marvel movies have been. Excuse me.
Yeah, what I love was the fact that on Following the Nerd on Thursday, they said this news story, and there was sort of like like little kids. How happy they were the fact that Whedon has said that he is coming back to do the second one, and we were having difficulty anyway in trying to think of another director who could follow in Whedon's shoes to do an Avengers movie. And with them doing a second one, it gives them more time for other directors to sort of like mature and find other directors to put into Whedon's boots, so there could be a third Avengers film, because there's probably going to be a third Avengers film after the second one anyway. So
yeah, I mean, it's the Avengers has done so successfully well that and rightfully so, Whedon has been, anyone who's been following him for the years he's been since television and other films, like me, will be glad that he is getting the recognition now that he's basically able to write his own ticket for Marvel as far as they're concerned, I think. Keira Knightley, excuse me.
It should be me who should be doing that, not you.
Keira Knightley may be joining the cast of the latest Jack Ryan movie as the wife of the main character. The movie is currently set to start filming shortly under the direction of Kenneth Branagh, who will also star as the movie's villain against the new Jack Ryan, played by Star Trek actor Chris Pine.
I like Keira Knightley as an actress. She can be a bit annoying though. There are times when you see her on screen, she can be a really annoying. It just depends on the kind of character that she's given. Like, for instance, I hated her in A Dangerous Method. I just didn't like her in that film.
I didn't like her in that, but I think that is down to the character. I mean, I think she's an actress she's a very good actress as long as she's given good direction. If she's not given good direction, she kind of just sits around and
she struggles,
flops like a fish that's out of water.
Yeah. Because if you look at a previous role, she has some of her previous roles anyway. She struggled because the direction or the film itself has just been terrible around her.
Okay, my final piece of news this evening, it's good or bad depending on the way you look at it. A third Bill and Ted movie may be on the horizon, according to website blockbuster.co.uk. The as yet untitled sequel to Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey that has been given a director with Dean Parisot, which I'm not sure I'm pronouncing right. Is the director of is the guy who directed Galaxy Quest.
I love that film.
It is a fantastic film. He's been hired to helm the third movie, and it's going to be a sequel instead of a reboot. And the script's apparently already been written, and both Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter have signed on to star and return in their roles as Bill S. Preston Esquire and Ted Theodore Logan. There's no announcement yet of when it's going to start filming because of the fact that the director Parisot is actually signed up to direct Red 2.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, that he's got Red 2 to do, and All I know also is that it's going to follow Bill and Ted in their later lives, what they're like now, rather than doing flashbacks and stuff like that. So I like the Bill and Ted films. I really do. I think they are quite funny. I'm not sure about the third one.
Yeah, a middle-aged Bill and Ted. It's going to be like a stoner movie without drugs.
Yeah, it's just if it was different actors, I wouldn't even want different actors, because you see what they did when they did a younger version of Dumb and Dumber. Dumb and Dumber, that was just an absolute car crash mess of a movie. So
no, it's.
I don't see what the thing is with doing a third in a series that's like 20 years old. I don't get that. Bringing the actors back, it's pointless, like they're doing with Ghostbusters as well. I understand doing a remake, yeah, fine. But doing a third in a series where it's more than 15 years down the line and getting the same actors to be the same characters is just stupid.
It's Hollywood desperation.
Yeah, because they didn't have a good idea for a remake, or they couldn't get anybody stupid enough to do a remake.
Okay, what news stories have you got there?
Sony have gone and raided the 80s TV cabinet again. This time they plan to bring Alf to the big screen in a live-action CGI film. Sony have handed the project to Jordan Kerner to develop. Kerner's last film he worked on was The Smurfs, in which a sequel will be out in the US on the 31st of July 2013.
Lord knows what this is going to be like. I am one of the people that's old enough to remember, and I actually remember enjoying the series of Alf a lot after coming over to school and seeing it. I do remember. I think it only lasted a couple of years, but they kept replaying it and replaying it. I really don't know what to make of this. It's going to be one of those ones that's brought back, and for a new generation that's not going to know it at all. So, Lord knows how faithful it's going to be.
Yeah, it'll probably be like the Smurfs film. So you're reviewing that then, because you reviewed the Smurfs. Donald Faison, who played Turk in the TV series Scrubs, is set to star as Dr. Gravity in Kick-Ass 2. The character of Dr. Gravity in the comics claims to be a psychic professor at Columbia University and goes around with a weapon called the gravity pole. That's a physics, not a psychic professor. Gravity pole which can increase the weight of certain objects. The film itself comes out in 2013 and will be directed by Jeff Wadlow, who did a film called Cry Wolf, which is an awful movie, under the supervision of Matthew Vaughn. I have nothing against Donald Faison. I'm a fan of Scrubs. I'm not sure. I don't know what the character's like for the comics. I know that Mark Miller, I think is it, that wrote the comics, has been doing that. I have no idea of regards to the character or anything in the comics, so it could be good, but I just don't see Donald Faison being right for a Kick-Ass movie. Yeah, exactly. And final piece of news story from me is with the Expendables 2 out this Thursday actually, producer Avi Lerner is already planning a third film in the series. This time he wants to add Nicolas Cage, Clint Eastwood, Wesley Snipes and Harrison Ford to the already huge squad of action actors.
Interesting. I like the gutsy wish list there, although I'm not sure they're going to have much luck with getting some of them. It'd be nice to see Clint Eastwood in that kind of a film, because let's admit it, the films he's been doing recently have all been good drama things, nothing like, the Dirty Pool and stuff like that he had from the 80s and the 70s and such, that were the kick-ass action films of that time. And he would be great in a role. I mean, can you see him going up against Arnold Schwarzenegger in a film? That would to coin a phrase, that would make my day.
Bad catchphrases. Who else would you think that they could have gotten as well?
Oh God,
put you on the spot now. There, didn't I?
Yeah, you really have. Honestly, I'm not sure who's the best to sort of pick out from who's left.
That is a good question.
Get them. Try and get two actors out of retirement: Sean Connery and Gene Hackman. Why not add them? They've got to be the top of a wish list. If anyone wants to bring any actors back from retirement, they too got to make the list.
What about Liam Neeson?
He's still doing this in Taken, so he's still doing these films. You don't need him in the Expendables.
He'll be running around screaming, "Where's my family?" I
No,
can't
it'd be
do the
running,
voice at the
it
moment.
wouldn't be running around screaming. It'd be running around. Where's my family?
Okay, you sounded more like Muttley there than Liam Neeson. Right, oh God, he's bringing out the impressions. On that note, if
Don't
you have a
tease me.
few ideas who you would like to see in Expendables 3, just drop them in the chat or on Twitter. Let's go for a break, because my voice is disappearing and I've got a film to review after the break.
Right, advert. What do I need to say in an advert? Well, I need to say that we're the Gamescast. I need to say that we're on Twitter at the Gamescast. I need to say we're on Facebook. I need to say we've got a website, thegamescast.com, and I need to say we're on YouTube. Oh yeah, and we're on this thing called Spreaker.com. Don't know where that came from. What else? That's probably it. Right, better record it. Oh, crap. That was 30 seconds. The Gamescast. Grown-up gamers talking about games. Allegedly.
Yeah, welcome back. Let's get on with our first review of the night. It's for the Bourne Legacy. I'm not going to class it as the fourth in the series, even though it is the fourth in the series, because I will tell you the reasons why I think the Bourne Legacy should be sort of the start of a new trilogy rather than being a part of the original trilogy with Matt Damon in it. The reason being is because this one's directed by Tony Gilroy, who wrote the other three movies alongside Paul Greengrass, and Paul Greengrass directed the last few films, and obviously he's gone on and decided to direct this one, Tony Gilroy. It stars Jeremy Renner instead of Matt Damon, who played Jason Bourne in the previous one. He plays Aaron Cross, and for the first 15 minutes, he doesn't say a single word in the movie, because it's just him getting across the mountains and sort of like surviving. It's a bit like The Grey in a way, the first 15 minutes of the Bourne Legacy. The fact that he's trying to survive, you don't know why he's out there in the wasteland of Alaska. You don't find that out until he gets to this cabin where there is somebody there, and supposedly during this trip he's taking these two pills, a green pill and a blue pill. He's also having to take his blood, but you don't find out exactly why he has to do that. He gets at this cabin where he thinks that he's going to meet with a person like him, a colleague like him, where he starts to discover, and where he does actually start to speak what's going on. There is a tete-a-tete between the person who's there. Loads of questions get asked in like a 10-minute chunk, where they're just passing questions onto each other, trying to find out why they're there and who's who, and if anybody knows anything about the organisation supposedly that they're a part of. He gives him his blood. He wants the meds by coming up with the story saying that he's lost the meds, and you find out during the film why Jeremy Renner's character really needs these medications, and why in a way he doesn't need these medications. In the real world as it is, it's discovered that that Treadstone organisation, which has gone through the first three films, is obviously gone and leaked stuff, and somebody in Treadstone, which you discovered in the third film, is going to sort of like expose everything that the American government is up. Every single organisation in a way, and every single government thing that they're doing, it's going to be leaked. And obviously the person who's running a team to try and stop all of this happening, played by Edward Norton. He's a retired colonel. He plays Eric Bayer. He's trying to stop all of this from obviously leaking out, and he decides to eliminate every member of this organisation, which Raina is a part of. And when Raina gets back to America after being supposedly trying to be killed, he discovers that there's this doctor played by Rachel Weisz who works in this lab on these medications, that he tries to help her in a shootout at her house, and he discovers from her that he might not only be the only one on this, there might be other people around him. He's a clip.
Where are we going?
June. Your name is June Monroe. Say it.
June Monroe.
Say it.
June Monroe.
Now pick a place you live, the last place you live, the place you know.
Bethesda,
then that's where you live. Anybody ask? You're June Monroe from Bethesda. You lost your wallet, I'm driving you home. My name is James and June. You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that your name?
James? No. What? You don't know my name? What do you call me? What do you put in my blood work?
5.
5. The number 5? You know how many times we've met? 13. 13 exams over the last 4 years. And that's what I get now. Number 5. Okay.
And so, I'm not going to give anything else more away. I think I've given too much away, because the last part of the film is sort of like the payoff of the movie. It's obviously leading up to what happens in the end. But let's just say it involves something in the Philippines. For me, now, I'm a huge fan of the Bourne films. I put them higher than the Bond films, because I think that the later Bond films, the ones with Daniel Craig in them, has learned a lot of lessons from the Bond films. Just the Bond films, they went very campy. The Bond films have always been known as campy, and in these day and age, they couldn't continue with that, because they still did that with Pierce Brosnan. They still had a more campy feel to it. But they couldn't follow that route throughout with Daniel Craig, because I don't think he would have been able to do that. So the Bond films have followed the sort of like the way the Bourne movies do it, and the first 3 Bourne films have always been very frenetic, but there's loads of information thrown at you, but it doesn't treat you that you're a dumb person. And so I went into the Bourne Legacy hoping that it would follow the same kind of route. Unfortunately for me, it stagnates a bit. It seems to drag in parts. The fact that the story is very simple, but it just seems to drag itself down. It feels like it gets lost in a few routes, and some of the conversations last too long. You're saying to yourself, when is there actually going to be a frenetic action set piece that you see in the Bourne films, the previous Bourne films, and they don't turn up. And when they do turn up, they are really well choreographed and really well done. Specifically, there is a fight scene in the Philippines which is fantastic, and the scene involving motorbikes, you'll have seen it in the trailer anyway, is absolutely mind-blowingly brilliant. But it just takes too much time leading up to that, and Jeremy Renner in this is not strong. He's not a strong character. He's not as strong as Jason Bourne in the previous Bourne films. He doesn't seem to have the wits of Bourne. He doesn't seem to have the guile of Bourne, even though there are glimmers of that in the movie. Also, I think Rachel Weisz ties the movie down a little bit too much as well. And for me, it's painful to say, but it's an average film rather than being the brilliant movies that the other Bourne films are.
I think for me, the whole thing about, I mean, we were talking about it before we started the show, and we referenced it, we likened it to Prometheus. You likened it to Prometheus because of the fact of the Prometheus and the Alien link, that people who had seen the Alien films went into it, and people who hadn't seen the Alien films got more out of Prometheus. Agreeably, it's a similar situation with this. People who haven't seen any of the Bourne films, seeing this, may get more out of it, but as well, there is, if you've seen the other Bourne films, there is, because the events of this are overlapping with the events of the Bourne Ultimatum, and there's no appearance of Jason Bourne in this film other than on a news broadcast on a television. But it ties in with events that happened because of the fact of in the story of Ultimatum was that someone had leaked something to the press, so the news was going to get out, and this is the actual thing that Edward Norton's character is trying to cover up. So it's all linked in, it's all tied in, and it's essentially, this is the fallout from Ultimatum that we're seeing. And the thing about that is that I like that we get to see what happens more after, because the things in Ultimatum were all about Jason Bourne. We're now getting to see the events that Jason Bourne has had on the Bourne world. And the thing that I also like about it is that it does kind of give the series kind of like a booster shot in the arm that it needed to be able to actually have further movies, because there's events that happen, we won't give away what it is, but there's events that happen in this film relating to the Bourne storyline, that now there's an option and a reason for Jason Bourne to come back, which is what I like. And I enjoyed the film. The one thing I will say is about the action sequences, it's the last sort of action sequence we already discussed briefly there about the motorcycle chase is frenetic, is well done, but for me the problem stems again with the shaky cam problem that the other films had. In Paul Greengrass's one, it was all done documentary style, and that was fair enough, and I get that. In this film, the problem is when the action starts to ramp up, you really do get some shaky cam sequences, which for me was actually a bit distracting. That was a bit of a shame with it, I thought.
One of the other problems I had with the film is the way they handle the flashback sequences. The sort of like when people remember something, it just feels like they weren't edited in the film properly enough. And there is even, if I remember correctly, there's even like a side swipe one, and I'm thinking, really, you want to go really cheesy and use a side swipe? You might as well just have these diamonds float on the screen then, and a flashback sequence do that, or a sort of like a Wayne's World diddle kind of flashback sequence.
Well, there is a clever use of one where it's a video, someone else watching a video sequence, a video of earlier in the character's history. So there was a nice attempt to do it, but it just wasn't entirely successful. But I mean, that's one of the things. I'm glad that they didn't go to the thing of Bourne, where it's just, the guy's got no memory, can't remember. This isn't the same character. It's not even a copy of the same character. It's based on the same training and such. He is He's born, as not intentionally punning. He is born from the same training, but he's not of the same mind. He remembers who he is. He remembers all the things of his training and what he's been going through, but he doesn't know really what he's going to do.
The reason why he can remember that is because during this film he's taken this medication, whereas in the Bourne films, Bourne never takes any kind of medication to supposedly amp up his abilities, because that's what this medication is. There's two pills, there's a green pill and a blue pill. One pill is used for his mental abilities, being able to remember more things, being able to be more intelligent, and the other pill is used for amping up his agility, and it's never explained during the first three Bourne films that he was on any of this kind of medication. It was just weird that they decided to bring the medication element into this movie if it's running alongside the same as the Bourne Ultimatum, and everybody else, every other agent in the organization is also taking this medication as well. Why is it never hinted that Bourne is? And why is it also never hinted in the movie that somebody's gone to assassinate somebody? Like, because everyone has been told that they need to be killed, they need to be killed off, and that was like the first 25-30 minutes of the film where he's supposed to be killed off, or Rena's character's supposed to be killed off. Why isn't Bourne's character also set to be killed off? Because I know there's the other team that's investigating him, but it's never alluded that he should be killed off as well.
I mean, there is a reference to that. There's a line in that I did catch up what you're saying, but we'll talk about this afterwards, because this is a bit of a spoiler thing, so I won't say that. But we can. I know I have an answer to that, but we'll speak about that later off the air. I mean, I will say this. The thing is, I did like Jeremy Renner's character, but I agree that it's a weak character. And the thing is, all the Bourne films have been taking the titles from the books, but not necessarily stories from the books. I'm not sure if there is one, but I think there is a Bourne story which is titled, I might be wrong on this, but The Bourne Evolution. Would you agree that this is possibly a better title for this film than The Bourne Legacy?
I would have actually... It's weird. It would be weird for them to do it, but I would have preferred them to drop Bourne altogether, drop the name Bourne, because it's got, even though Bourne is hinted at in the film itself, it's got nothing to do with Jason Bourne, and so the whole reason why the films is called the Bourne Identity, the Bourne Supremacy, the Bourne Ultimatum, each one of the films is following what Bourne has to do. In the first film, he has to find his identity. In the second film, he has to become supremacy over himself. And in the third film, he's got an ultimatum whether to go back and reveal what he is and try to clear his name in the way. In this movie, it's got nothing to do with Bourne, so calling it the Bourne Legacy, you would have think that it would have been the story about how Bourne became a member of Treadstone or whatever.
I mean, yeah, I get that, but they obviously had to tie it in, and to get the people interested. That's obviously the reason why. But
that's the reason why they should have just not got this. It's not a Bourne film for me.
Okay, shall we move on?
Yeah, move on to Brave.
Yeah, okay, Brave, which is the latest Disney Pixar animation. It's directed by Mark Andrews and Brenda Chapman, and stars the voices of, you have in there Kelly MacDonald, Billy Connolly,
and more Scottish. I don't think he needs that.
Emma Thompson and Julie Walters, among others. It's all set in Scotland during a time when there's the sort of clans all coming together for the King of Scotland, his daughter being essentially married off, and all the clans are coming together to compete in the Highland Games for her hand in marriage. Here's a clip.
Then, out of nowhere, the biggest bear you've ever seen, his hide littered with the weapons of fallen warriors, his face scarred with one dead eye. I drew my sword and...
Whish! One swipe, his sword shattered, then chomp! Dad's leg was clean off. Down the monster's throat it went.
Oh, that's my favourite part.
Mordu has never been seen since, and is roaming the wilds, waiting his chance of revenge.
Let him return. I'll finish what I guddled in the first place.
Merida, a princess does not place her weapons on the table.
Mom!
So the main character of Merida, who's played by Kelly MacDonald, not happy with being married off and wanting to live her own life, and having sort of being trained by her father to be a good archer and more of a fighter than a good little princess, decides that she wants to actually see about trying to get out of this arrangement and live her own life and change her fate, where she then is sort of led by mysterious wisps of the willows in the forest to actually find a witch who gives her a potion that will actually then help her to change her fate by doing something that will affect her mother. I'm not going to say what, because that would actually spoil quite an interesting shock and a whole subplot of the film. But the thing is with Brave is that it is Disney, it is Pixar, but unfortunately it is not up to Pixar standards. It is beautifully animated. There is some basic story to it. The story isn't particularly brilliant, and it does reference a lot of other films. The thing is, I want to say what one film in particular, but saying that will give away a plot element of this, so I'm not going to. But the thing is with it, I enjoyed it. I saw it in a fairly busy cinema, in which myself included, the adults and the kids laughed throughout plenty of times. So it genuinely has enough laughs in it. Just that if you're going to see it based on having seen other Pixar films, because I am a fan of Pixar films, the problem is that some of the animation is particularly simple for the human characters that you have. You have the facial expressions they're weaker than there have been in other Pixar films. You have the characters in it where you've got Merida is a average to strong character, not an especially standing out character, but you've got her mother, which is also a fairly strong character. You've got her father, played by Billy Connolly, who is a kind of a typical Scottish character, a father who loves, archetype, yeah, I can't think of the word, but it's the problem is that there's other characters in it, like her three triplet brothers who are in the film, and they're basically there for kind of like you said about the Three Stooges earlier. It's kind of like the Three Stooges, but kids. They just get up to mischief, they cause problems, but they never say a single word throughout the whole film. They never talk. They're silent caricatures. And they are the source of a lot of the humour in the film, but it's just, why aren't they talking? Why do they never say anything? It's one of these things that you watch a film and it bugs you. There's this whole thing as well of the ongoing Highland Games between these three clans who all have fathers there with their oldest firstborn sons who are there to compete for Merida's hand. And it seems like none of them have a wife or mother, any of them at all. It's all just men there, and it's things like that just seem to have been overlooked in the story. That as an adult watching it, you're questioning it. You're wondering why. If you're going with kids, the kids will no doubt be entertained. It's rated PG though. Be aware there are some scenes in it which younger kids may find a little bit intimidating and a little bit frightening, because there's scenes that are shot very sort of threateningly action-wise. The main problem that the film has, and I'm saying this as someone as you're probably aware, who does support 3D when used properly. this film is in 3D, but there is about half of the film which is in darkness, in dark scenes at night in a forest or in a cave or something like that, in closed dark areas. And the problem is with 3D, as many of you know, when you watch something that's dark, the 3D is the glasses just make it harder to see. And that is one of the things that this film really does suffer. This is a perfect example of when not to use 3D unless you're seeing it in cinema that is extremely well lit.
Yeah, I have a couple of facts about the film, even though I've not seen it myself. This is the first Pixar film to have a female lead character, which is interesting.
She's a decent character, but she's just not a strong enough character to be the lead.
Yeah, unlike the way Studio Ghibli handle, I know I'm going back to Ghibli, but Studio Ghibli handles female characters brilliantly. And also, this is the first Pixar film to be directed by a woman.
Well, it's co-directed by.
But it's still...
In fact, it actually has 3 directors, because even on the credits, when the credits rolled, I noticed and I was surprised to see it. It's directed by now. Let me get this right. It's directed by Mark Andrews and Brenda Chapman, but then there is also a co-director credit for Steve Purcell.
Yeah, well, I just thought I would throw those 2 up anyway. Right, that's it for this week's cinema part of the show. We will be back live in a moment with the Blu-ray and DVD part of the show. If you listen to us on iTunes, I know I go over this every single week. Please leave us a comment. Please leave us a star rating. We don't care if it's 1 or 5. Just be honest, and just be honest. And we'll be back in a moment.
Don't be honest.